You humans are absolutely insane, Skek chittered, mandibles clicking in what I'd learned to recognize as their species' equivalent of exasperated disbelief. That thing is going to die. It's simple biology. Nothing that size can survive long term. I looked up from my tablet where I'd been reviewing the latest sensor data from our patient. Yeah? Watch us prove you wrong. The massive form of the stranded Centaurian Titan filled most of our view screen, its crystalline-based biology refracting the light of distant stars into breathtaking patterns across its mile-long body. Even in its current state, injured, ill, and abandoned by its own kind, it was beautiful. Your species has been spacefaring for what, barely 2 centuries? Sketch continued. The Centaurians have been studying these creatures for millennia. If they say it's beyond saving. The Centaurians also thought faster-than-light travel was impossible until we showed up with the Anderson drive. I countered, pushing away from my workstation. Sometimes fresh eyes see solutions that experience misses. Or sometimes inexperience leads to costly failures and wasted resources, they replied. But I could hear the uncertainty creeping into their voice. They'd been working with humans long enough to know we had an annoying habit of achieving the impossible through sheer stubborn determination. I gestured at the holographic readouts floating around us. Look at these numbers. Its core crystalline matrix is still intact. The damage is severe, yes, but it's mostly to the outer layers. We're not dealing with anything immediately fatal. It's not just the physical damage, Skek argued. These beings require specific quantum resonance frequencies to maintain their consciousness. Without their podmates, which is exactly why we brought Dr. Chen and her quantum harmonics team, I interrupted. They've been working on artificial resonance generators that could theoretically substitute for podmate connections. I pulled up another set of data. Early results are promising. Theoretical! Promising! Skek's antennae waved in agitation. You're betting millions of credits and countless work hours on theories and promises. I smiled. Welcome to how humans do science, friend. Sometimes you have to take that leap of faith. Faith, they muttered. Another uniquely human concept that continues to baffle me. Think of it more like educated optimism combined with stubborn determination, I suggested. We see something amazing and wounded, something that everyone else has given up on, and we think, hey, maybe we can help. And then we try everything we can think of until something works. The ship's intercom crackled to life. Dr. Martinez to the quantum lab. We're ready for the first resonance test. I stood, stretching. Care to watch history in the making? Skek's mandibles clicked rapidly. Their version of a resigned sigh. Someone should be present to document your spectacular failure. That's the spirit, I laughed, heading for the door. Though I think you mean spectacular success. The quantum lab was a chaos of human innovation at its finest. Dozens of screens displayed incomprehensible data streams. Jerry-rigged equipment cluttered every surface. And in the center of it all stood Dr. Chen's pride and joy, the quantum resonance generator. It looked like someone had asked a 5-year-old to draw a musical instrument and then built it out of spare parts and hope. Are those modified ship engine parts? Sketch asked incredulously. And pieces from 3 different alien communication arrays, Dr. Chen confirmed cheerfully. Plus some components we basically invented last week. Ready to fire it up? I took my position at the monitoring station. Hit it! The generator hummed to life, producing frequencies that made my teeth itch and Skek's antennae flatten against their head. On our screens, we watched the energy patterns ripple across the Titan's crystalline surface. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, holy shit, someone whispered. The Titan's natural bioluminescence, which had been dimming steadily since we found it, flickered and strengthened. Patterns of light danced across its surface in complex, beautiful sequences. It's responding! Dr. Chen's fingers flew across her console. The resonance patterns are aligning. We're actually communicating. Impossible, Ziktik breathed. I grinned. Humanity's favorite kind of possible. The next few weeks were a blur of activity. The Titan, which we nicknamed Crystal because humans can't resist naming things, responded better than anyone, except maybe us crazy optimistic humans, expected to the artificial resonance therapy. Its damaged outer layers began to show signs of regeneration, and we learned to interpret its light patterns as a form of communication. It was intelligent, deeply, wonderfully intelligent, and lonely. It had been separated from its pod during an encounter with a spatial anomaly, injured and lost in an unfamiliar sector. Its own people had tried to help but gave up when traditional methods failed. They declared it a lost cause, its death inevitable. Then humans found it. You know what I think? I said to Skek one day. as we watched Crystal communicate with a team of xenobiologists through synchronized light patterns. I think sometimes the galaxy needs a species crazy enough to try the impossible. Someone who looks at a dying space whale made of crystal and thinks, I bet we could fix that. Your people are certainly unique, they admitted. Though I'm beginning to think that might not be entirely bad. High praise indeed, I laughed. Don't let it go to your head. Their mandibles clicked in amusement. Though I must admit, I'm curious what other impossible things humans might achieve. 3 months after we found Crystal, we made contact with its pod. The reunion was spectacular. A symphony of light and quantum resonances that had half our sensors overloading and brought tears to more than a few human eyes. The Centaurian scientists who arrived to study our methods were torn between disbelief and grudging admiration. As we prepared to bid farewell to Crystal and its pod, I found Zsketsk in the observation lounge. Still think we were insane? I asked. Oh, absolutely, they replied. But I'm starting to understand that human insanity might be exactly what this galaxy needs sometimes. Your species sees things differently. Where others see inevitable failure, you see possibility. Where we see solid walls, you see doors waiting to be opened, or blown up if necessary. Was that a compliment? More of an observation, though. They paused, antennae twitching thoughtfully. I find myself grateful that humanity decided to join us among the stars. You make things interesting. I watched as Crystal's pod prepared to depart, their massive crystalline forms creating a light show that put any human celebration to shame. You know what the best part is? What? This is just the beginning. There are so many more impossible things out there waiting for someone crazy enough to try. Skek's mandibles clicked rapidly. I suppose I should get used to humans proving me wrong. Probably, I agreed cheerfully. It's kind of our thing. As Crystal and its pod vanished into the depths of space, I couldn't help but smile. Somewhere out there, another impossible challenge was waiting, and humanity would be ready, armed with our unique blend of scientific innovation, stubborn determination, and just the right amount of crazy. Because that's what humans do. We see the impossible, and we say challenge accepted. The universe doesn't stand a chance. Remember when our biggest problem was convincing everyone we could save a crystalline space whale? I asked, staring at the flood of incoming transmission requests lighting up our communications array. Simpler times, Skatik agreed, their mandibles twitching in what I'd learned was their species' version of a smirk. Now everyone wants humans to solve their impossible problems. After the successful rescue of Crystal and the development of artificial quantum resonance technology, humanity had gained something of a reputation. Specifically, we'd become the galaxy's go-to species for lost causes and crazy ideas. Our inbox was currently drowning in requests from across known space. Let's see what we've got, I said, pulling up the priority messages. The hive mind of Proxima wants us to help them reverse a collective consciousness collapse. The gaseous beings of NGC 4414 have a dimensional anchor problem. And, oh, this is rich. The Centaurians themselves are asking for consultation on a highly sensitive matter. The same Centaurians who said we were wasting our time with Crystal? Sktek's antennae twitched in amusement. How the mighty have fallen. To be fair, we did completely upend their understanding of quantum resonance biology. I scrolled through more messages, though I noticed they're still calling it modified Centaurian resonance theory in their papers, conveniently leaving out the because humans proved us wrong part. The ship's intercom crackled. Dr. Martinez, Dr. Chen wants you in the lab, says it's urgent. I sighed. When isn't it urgent with her? The quantum lab had evolved since our work with Crystal. The jerry-rigged equipment had been replaced with slightly less jerry-rigged equipment, and the quantum resonance generator now looked like something a 10-year-old would draw instead of a 5-year-old. Progress. Dr. Chen was practically bouncing when we arrived. You need to see this, she said, pulling up a holographic display. Remember how we were monitoring Crystal's pod for long-term effects of our resonance therapy? Did something go wrong? I asked, suddenly concerned. Wrong? No, quite the opposite. She manipulated the display, showing complex wave patterns. They've adapted our artificial resonance frequencies into their natural communication patterns. They're using our human interference as a new form of expression. It's like we taught them a new language and they're using it to create art. I studied the patterns. They were beautiful, more complex than anything we'd seen during the rescue. Are you saying we accidentally taught space whales to sing in quantum? More like we gave them new notes for their quantum symphony, she corrected. But essentially, yes, and that's not even the best part. Look at these readings from other Titan pods that have come in contact with Crystal's group. The data showed clear evidence of the modified resonance patterns spreading through the Titan population. They're teaching each other? They're evolving, Dr. Chen exclaimed. Our impossible intervention didn't just save Crystal. It gave their entire species a new way to communicate and connect. The Centaurians are probably having collective aneurysms trying to process this. Sketch had been unusually quiet during this exchange. You know what this means, don't you? They finally said. That we should prepare for more angry letters from Centaurian scientists? It means that humanity's interference in what others considered natural processes had unintended positive consequences that no one could have predicted. Their antennae waggled meaningfully, which some of us might take as justification for continuing to stick your noses where they don't traditionally belong. I grinned. Are you suggesting we should answer some of those distress calls? Maybe see what other impossible problems we can solve? I am suggesting, they said carefully, that perhaps the galaxy could benefit from more human-style innovative interference, even if it gives certain conservative species collective anxiety. Dr. Chen was already pulling up the message queue. The dimensional anchor problem sounds interesting. If we could modify our resonance technology to affect spatial frequencies? Hold up, I said, spotting something in the message queue. Priority alert from Crystal's pod. The message was typically Titan, a complex burst of quantum data that our systems took several minutes to decode. When it finally resolved, I felt my jaw drop. They found another spatial anomaly, I read, similar to the one that originally injured Crystal, but this time, they want us to help them study it. They think our unique perspective might help prevent future pod separations. The Centaurians are going to hate this, Zusketk observed. The Centaurians can write another strongly worded paper about it, I replied. Crystal's pod is right. We might see something they missed. Different perspective, fresh eyes. Human insanity? Sketk suggested. Exactly. I started pulling up ship diagnostics. Dr. Chen, how quickly can you get your team ready for a field expedition? Her grin matched mine. How fast can you get us there? You realize, Sketch said as we began preparations, that if you succeed in understanding these anomalies, you'll be rewriting xenophysics as well as xenobiology? The scientific establishment might never recover. Sounds like a Tuesday, I replied. Besides, think of it this way. We're not breaking the established understanding of the universe. We're just creatively expanding it. Their mandibles clicked in resigned amusement. I suspect the universe will never be quite the same after humanity gets through with it. That's the plan, I agreed, watching as Crystal's message played again. Its quantum frequencies dancing like music across our screens, one impossible problem at a time. As our ship prepared for departure, I couldn't help but think about how far we'd come. From being dismissed as naive newcomers to becoming the species that other species called when they needed the impossible made possible. It wasn't a bad reputation to have. Hey Sketk, I said as we made our final preparations. Want to help us rewrite the laws of physics? Their antenna twitched. Someone has to document your spectacular success. And with that, we set course for our next impossible challenge. Because that's what humans do best. We take the impossible, add a healthy dose of creativity and determination, and turn it into something wonderful. Even if we have to break a few laws of physics along the way. I'm not saying we broke physics, Dr. Chen announced to the hastily assembled emergency conference. I'm just saying we may have convinced it to work differently than previously assumed. The holographic faces of various scientific authorities from across the galaxy stared back at us with expressions ranging from horror to fascination. The Centaurian science director's crystalline features were cycling through colors that probably indicated severe emotional distress. You created a stable quantum resonance feedback loop with a spatial anomaly, the director said slowly, their voice crackling with suppressed emotion. Using modified communications technology, a jury-rigged dimensional sensor array, and, is this correct? A repurposed food synthesizer? The synthesizer was key, actually. I chimed in helpfully. Turns out its matter-energy conversion matrices were perfect for calibrating the quantum harmonics. Skitk, standing beside me, made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. They'd gotten dangerously used to human methods over the past few months. The conference had been called because our investigation of the spatial anomaly with Crystal's pod had yielded some unexpected results. We'd gone in hoping to understand how these phenomena affected Titan quantum biology. We'd ended up discovering something far more interesting. Perhaps, said the Rigelian physics commissioner, their tentacles writhing anxiously. You could explain exactly what happened, in simple terms. Dr. Chen beamed. Well, we were studying how the anomaly disrupted the Titan's natural quantum resonance patterns, right? And we noticed that the disruption wasn't random. It had its own frequency. So we thought, what if we tried to communicate with it? Communicate with a spatial anomaly? The director repeated faintly. It made sense at the time, I defended. We'd already established that quantum resonance could be used as a form of communication with the Titans. Why not try it with the phenomenon that affected them? Because spatial anomalies are not conscious entities, the director burst out. Well, no, Dr. Chen agreed. But they are quantum phenomena. And once we established a resonance feedback loop, we found we could influence their behavior, which led to our current situation. Ah, yes, our current situation. I glanced at the main view screen, where the spatial anomaly hung in space like a soap bubble crossed with a Klein bottle. Thanks to our impossible interference, it was now stable, predictable, and, most importantly, generating some very interesting effects on local spacetime. You've created a controllable spacetime distortion, the physics commissioner said, using technology that, by all known laws of physics, should not be able to do that. We prefer to think of it as discovering laws of physics that were there all along, I suggested. We just had to look at them from a different angle, specifically the angle of, what if we try this crazy thing and see what happens? Several of the assembled scientists made noises of distress. ZKTCK's mandibles were clicking rapidly in what I now recognized as their version of silent laughter. The Titans seem quite excited about it, Dr. Chen added brightly. They've been using the stabilized anomaly to experiment with new forms of quantum resonance communication. We think they might be developing a form of faster-than-light quantum entanglement messaging. This time the director's colors shifted to what I'm pretty sure was the crystalline equivalent of a blue screen of death. Speaking of the Titans, I said, pulling up another data set. They've been sharing some fascinating insights about how these anomalies form naturally. Turns out they've been observing them for millennia. They just never thought to try communicating with them. Because that would be insane, someone muttered. Exactly, I agreed cheerfully. Sometimes you need a fresh, slightly insane perspective, which, fortunately, humanity is happy to provide. What's really interesting, Dr. Chen continued, warming to her subject, is how this could revolutionize space travel. If we can reliably control these anomalies, create stable corridors through space-time. No, the director interrupted. Absolutely not. You are not suggesting we use your impossible physics-breaking discovery for practical applications. Too late, Zakatsky announced, finally joining the conversation. 3 different human research teams have already submitted preliminary proposals for experimental drive systems based on the principle. 2 of them involve repurposing coffee makers. The conference devolved into chaos after that. While various scientific authorities argued about the implications and potential disasters of letting humans continue to mess with fundamental forces, I noticed Crystal's pod sending us new quantum resonance patterns through the stabilized anomaly. They're laughing at us, aren't they? I asked Dr. Chen. She checked the readings and grinned. Pretty much. They're also sharing some interesting ideas about using multiple synchronized anomalies to create a network of quantum corridors. Want to try it? Are you suggesting we expand our physics-breaking experiment while the galaxy's leading scientists are actively telling us to stop? Of course. Just checking. I turned to Zheketsk. Want to help us break physics even more creatively? Their antennae twitched. Someone has to document how humanity's special brand of insanity reshapes our understanding of the universe. Again. As the conference continued to argue in circles, we began setting up for our next impossible experiment. The Titans were already positioning themselves around neighboring anomalies, ready to help implement our crazy ideas. You know what I love about humanity? Zisketk said as we worked. You don't just prove the impossible possible. You make it look fun. That's because it is fun, I replied. There's nothing better than taking everything everyone knows about how the universe works and saying, yes, but what if we tried this completely ridiculous thing instead? And then having it work, they added. Having it, that's just a bonus. I watched as Crystal's pod began generating new resonance patterns, preparing to help us break physics in exciting new ways. The real joy is in the trying. Above us, the stabilized anomaly pulsed with possibilities, a testament to what could happen when humanity's special brand of determined insanity met the mysteries of the universe. The galaxy's scientific community might never recover from the shock. But then again, that's what they said after we saved Crystal, and after we helped the Titans evolve their quantum language, and pretty much every other time humanity decided to try something impossible. Maybe soon they'd learn to stop underestimating what could happen when humans decided to help, no matter how impossible the problem seemed. But I hoped not. It was much more fun this way. The Galactic Council, Zsktik announced, reading from their tablet, has officially classified humans as, and I quote, a Class 4 reality perturbation risk. I looked up from where I was helping Dr. Chen calibrate our latest impossible device, a quantum resonance coffee maker that somehow produced both perfect espresso and stable micro-wormholes. Only Class 4? I'm almost disappointed. They're still debating whether to upgrade you to Class 3, Skek continued, mandibles twitching in amusement. Apparently, there's quite the argument about whether humanity's casual disregard for established universal constants constitutes a fundamental threat to reality itself. All we did was prove that universal constants are more like universal guidelines, Dr. Chen protested, adjusting something inside the coffee maker that made nearby quantum sensors shriek in protest. And technically, that last breakthrough was the Titan's idea. We just helped implement it. The past few months had been interesting. After our success with stabilizing spatial anomalies, the Titans had gotten increasingly creative with their applications of quantum resonance technology. It turned out that a species that had spent millennia observing the universe through quantum crystalline senses had some fascinating ideas about how reality worked. They just needed humanity's special brand of, why not try it, energy to help put those ideas into practice. The result was a wave of innovations that had the galaxy's scientific community alternating between excitement and existential dread. Speaking of the Titans, I said, checking our latest communications. Crystal's pod has made contact. They've successfully replicated the quantum corridor network in the Carina sector. Travel time between systems has been reduced by 87%. Using technology based on modified food preparation equipment, Zsktek noted dryly. Hey, the coffee maker was just the prototype, I defended. The full-scale versions are much more professional looking. They still have cup holders. Because sometimes you want to enjoy a nice beverage while breaking the laws of physics, the intercom crackled. The intercom. Dr. Martinez, we're receiving a priority transmission from the Proxima hive mind. They say it's about their consciousness collapse problem? Yes, that. In the wake of our success with the Titans, we'd finally started addressing some of those other impossible problems in our inbox. The Proxima hive mind situation was particularly interesting. A case of quantum entanglement gone wrong that had fractured their collective consciousness into competing subsections. Put them through, I said, then turned to Dr. Chen. How's that consciousness harmonizer coming along? She patted the device beside her, which looked suspiciously like our quantum coffee maker attached to a modified subspace antenna. Ready for testing. Though I still think we should have gone with my original design. Your original design involved using a toaster. It was a very sophisticated toaster. The holographic display flickered to life, showing the fragmented patterns of the Proxima hive mind's quantum consciousness matrix. Even split apart, it was beautiful, like a kaleidoscope of thought and emotion rendered in pure energy. Greetings, humans. The collective voice of the hive mind resonated through our quantum translators. We have observed your successes with the Titans and their spatial anomalies. We believe your unique perspective might help us as well. Well, I said, glancing at our jerry-rigged consciousness harmonizer. We do have some ideas, though I should warn you our methods tend to be a bit unconventional. The hive mind's energy patterns shifted in what might have been amusement. We are aware of humanity's reputation. The Galactic Council has issued several warnings about your species' approach to problem-solving. Only several? Dr. Chen asked, sounding genuinely disappointed. They're releasing them gradually to avoid causing panic, Skitik supplied helpfully. I ignored them both. The thing is, I explained to the hive mind, we've been studying your consciousness fragmentation patterns, and we noticed something interesting. The quantum resonance frequencies of your split consciousness components? They're remarkably similar to the patterns we observed in unstable spatial anomalies. This suggests a solution? This suggests, Dr. Chen jumped in, practically vibrating with excitement, that we might be able to adapt our anomaly stabilization techniques to help reorganize your quantum consciousness matrix, using principles we learned from the Titans, combined with some creative applications of human technology. The hive mind's patterns swirled thoughtfully. You believe you can repair our collective consciousness, using principles discovered through communication with crystalline space whales and technology derived from food preparation devices? When you say it like that, it sounds crazy, I admitted. Of course it sounds crazy, Ziskek interjected. It's a human solution. The real question is, will it work? Dr. Chen was already powering up the consciousness harmonizer. It hummed to life, quantum resonance fields dancing around it in patterns that somehow reminded me of both coffee steam and the Titan's crystalline songs. Only one way to find out, she said cheerfully. As we prepared to attempt yet another impossible feat of quantum engineering, I couldn't help but smile. This was what humanity did best. We took crazy ideas, impossible problems, and the suggestions of crystalline space whales, threw them in a metaphorical blender, sometimes literally, don't ask about the quantum smoothie incident, and somehow produced miracles. You know, Skek observed as we worked, I think I finally understand why humans are so successful at solving impossible problems. Oh? It's because you never learned they were supposed to be impossible in the first place. I laughed. That, and we make better coffee makers than anyone else in the galaxy. Above us, the fragments of the hive mind waited hopefully as we prepared our latest impossible solution. Around us, quantum sensors recorded yet another example of humanity casually rewriting the rules of reality. And somewhere out there, Crystal's pod was probably teaching other Titans new ways to bend physics using principles we'd discovered together. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly how we liked it. After all, impossible was just another word for hasn't been tried by humans yet.